Hello, welcome to ID Talks. My name is Anastasia Lavrina, and today we have a very special guest, member of Azerbaijani Parliament, Nigar Arpadarai, who has just come from Strasbourg. Hello and welcome to ID Talks.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. On October 12th, the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe adopted a resolution and recommendation document regarding Azerbaijan's Karabakh region. You personally were there with the Azerbaijani delegation. So PASE has called Azerbaijan to create a climate of trust and the material conditions for Armenians from Karabakh to be able to return. What actions you think do PASE expect from Baku by publishing and distributing this resolution?
Well, thank you very much, Anastasia. First of all, I must say that the resolution is extremely biased. It ignores such facts as territorial claims of Armenia against Azerbaijan, which was followed by the occupation of Azerbaijan's lands, by ethnic cleansing of around 1 million Azerbaijanis from their homes. And these facts are the core of the conflict. It is what led to this conflict. And unfortunately, they have been completely ignored in the resolution. Also, moreover, steps taken in the direction of reintegration of Armenians of Karabakh region into the society of Azerbaijan are not also being mentioned, are not being duly noticed and taken into consideration, and basically the PASE resolution, I think that PASE resolution is in reality is kind of a face-saving resolution. For example, it says that Azerbaijan should create conditions for Armenians of Karabakh to return. And this is exactly what Azerbaijan is doing, actually. And we have presented lots of facts. All the information we've sent it all to the rapporteur and to the committee, but again, they say that we have to do it. In reality, this is exactly what we are doing. Azerbaijan's door is open for Armenian civilians who have a record of being born in Karabakh, and it's up to them whether they decide or not. Of course, they have to accept Azerbaijan's citizenship. So Azerbaijan is doing many things in this direction, and it's absolutely unfortunate, and it's biased that PASE resolution doesn't mention it.
I'm sorry, so what was the main purpose of that resolution, and how to build trust in the relationship between European institutions and Azerbaijan? Just your personal opinion on that.
However, it should also be mentioned that there are clauses in the resolution that are absolute Armenian propaganda. It's sort of statement of solidarity with Armenia and statement that they support Armenian side. But in reality, if you read between the lines, you will see that most of these pro-Armenian parts are in fact bubbles. They don't contain any meaningful statements there. And these are some words to please Armenia. And so the resolution extremely biased. It doesn't reflect on situation on the ground. It doesn't help the process going on in the region, reconciliation, reintegration of Armenians. And I really hope that Armenian side one day will understand that. Also, you said the trust issue, just coming back to this, trust issue is lacking between Azerbaijan and European institutions, but building trust is a mutual process. It should come both ways. European institutions, international organizations failed Azerbaijan, failed their mission when Azerbaijan's lands were under occupation. And now they are failing actually next steps, unfortunately.
So you said about the real facts and arguments presented by Azerbaijani delegation there. So what was the reason to ignore these facts from those who decided to vote in favor of this resolution? The countries in the Council of Europe, do they really know about the situation in the region of the South Caucasus?
Well, my personal opinion is that in reality, they all know everything very well. And one thing is not questionable, that it's Azerbaijan's territory and everything is happening on Azerbaijan's territory. Of course, it's some MPs and some countries are using this European institutions, including PASE, like French side, France, obviously, and trying to use them to bring in their own agenda and to sort of come with Armenian propaganda. in reality, of course, the initial document was different. We have made lots of amendments. We have changed lots of things in the document. But again, it's the biased approach. It's not about this resolution. It's the overall approach is biased. And that's why I'm saying that it's not the right way from such organizations like PASE, because PASE should show that it respects international law. It should have similar approach to all the countries, but this is not the case.
So what actions are currently expecting in Baku from the European institutions, if there is any expectation?
Well, it's a self-evident fact that the conflict over Karabakh, Azerbaijan solved the whole issue itself. There were 4 UN Security Council resolutions, dozens of our documents, which remained unenforced. So Azerbaijan was on its own, and we have managed to enforce international law and to solve this conflict. But you should also remember that before that, Azerbaijan has been involved into negotiations for many years, for almost 30 years. And we've been using various European platforms, including OSCE and PASE, and we've been trying to resolve this conflict by peaceful means, to promote the idea that the conflict may be resolved without military means. But international organizations, European institutions failed to help in that. We have to say that openly. And there should have been some sanction mechanisms towards Armenia, but we didn't see that. And now, coming back to the processes taking place now, European platforms, EU was one of the platforms for negotiations after the Second Karabakh War. It is now one of the platforms. And our president mentioned many times that he's open for suggestions. He reiterated that many times that European platforms are acceptable as long as suggestions are meaningful and they support truth. So it's very open, it's very transparent, so there should be meaningful suggestions. This is how I understand it. And international organizations, European organizations are in crisis now. I really want to make one point that Europe must think of widening its foundation. I strongly believe that wider Europe is stronger Europe. So it should keep the door open for cooperation, for partnership. But this kind of biased resolutions, biased approach towards some countries, including Azerbaijan and Turkey, it doesn't help. Council of Europe should set an example for the rest of the world where international law principles are respected and principles are applied similarly. But do we see it now? No, we don't. We don't see it now. Council of Europe fails to do that. And for 3 decades, occupation of part of Azerbaijan by Armenia didn't get enough attention from this organization. And now reintegration efforts carried out by Azerbaijan, they are also being ignored. So Europe is risking of turning into a small, closed Christian club. This is what is happening.
But will it affect the relations between Azerbaijan with any of European country or the European Union itself?
Well, European countries, if we are talking about EU countries, they are quite different. Azerbaijan has built up stable and good relations with a number of Eastern European countries. There are one dynamic over there. There's another dynamic with some Western countries, with Germany, with Italy. Azerbaijan's issue is probably at the moment with France, and actually it's France's issue with Azerbaijan, I would say, and I would even say that it's with French government, because it's not like France was not supporting Armenia, but the position of France under different administrations was slightly different. It was sometimes more engaging, sometimes a bit more balanced. It was never fully balanced, we must admit, but it was not as aggressive, as destructive as it is now, because now currently it's absolutely destructive policy that France is carrying out. So I would narrow it down to the situation with current administration, with current government of France. And unfortunately, France is using institutions, European organizations to promote its own agenda, let's say, to promote the Armenian agenda. But in reality, it doesn't help Armenia. Absolutely not.
But I think there are still some countries in the PASE which decided to not to be under the Armenian propaganda, and who wants to investigate, who wants to trust and accept the new reality in the region of the South Caucasus. Can you tell us about the position of these countries?
Well, yes, there are many of them, actually. And frankly, Armenians are making lots of noise in Parliamentary Assembly of Council of Europe, but there are absolute majority of PASE members already accepted the new realities and basically understand what Azerbaijan has done and do not have any issues with that. But pro-Armenian actions are largely being promoted by French delegation and those that have that fall into their influence. This is a well-organized group, of course. This is very focused group and they coordinate between each other. But I wouldn't say that they represent absolute majority. They represent an active portion of PASE. But many people in PASE member countries, they understand what Azerbaijan is doing. And yeah.
So let's finalize our discussion with a positive news. The Azerbaijani flag is now raised in Khankendi and Khojaly cities. It has a special significance, I guess, for each Azerbaijanis who were waiting for this for almost 3 decades. What exactly were the key factors that led to another epoch-making victory for Azerbaijan?
Well, first of all, I would like to congratulate everyone, all of us, for this amazing historic moment. And we've all been waiting for Mr. President's speech from Khankendi and Khojaly. It was very symbolic and it's a historic moment. In essence, this is Azerbaijan's move to the next stage of its history. And this victory was delivered by absolutely impeccable and perfect planning and implementation by our president, by our army and other appropriate structures. Well, I think that we will talk about that for many years to come. And it's the next stage in our history, extremely symbolic moments. And I will tell you frankly, internationals like European politicians, they see it and they know it very well. They admitted in private conversations more than often that they are amazed how Azerbaijan has managed the whole situation. Of course, publicly, they will not say that maybe, but this is understandable because big players, big countries doesn't like independent policy. They want small countries to be dependent on them. But luckily, and I'm happy to say that we are over it and we have our own, let's say, our own direction. We are developing our strong state. And I feel extremely proud today.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining IZ Talks today.
Thank you very much.